into data name just non-training. 10 minutes before.
Okay. Enquiry. We can discuss that. Doesn't matter who signed. So here we've done enquiry.php. Is that right? That means it's the same file. Is that okay? Now, if I save this page and I go and show you this page, localhost /1739 / forms. Yeah, so we get the form. Now if I don't fill it up or nothing, I'll just click on save. Nothing would happen. If I click here, it's going, but obviously it's not doing anything yet, right? But whenever you click on save, the box automatically becomes empty. The reason is because the page got refreshed. Is that right? Because the page got refreshed. So if the page is going to get refreshed, the information in that form is going to get lost. Is that correct?
It's not saved that way, the name
It is saved. It saved, but I didn't fetch it. For HTML, it's lost. PHP can retrieve it and send it back again or use it somewhere. But for HTML, it's lost, isn't it? It's gone. That's it. The form becomes empty again. Is that okay? I will show you what is in the advantage is the form needs to be getting refreshed. Now here, if I write down a PHP code anywhere I like, doesn't matter where you write it down. Does that make sense? It wouldn't just that they have to be declared before they get used. Is that right? So you can't use a variable if you've not declared it. So if I write down a PHP code, now here, if I say, let's say $fname is equal to post, and I receive this value, which was, I have written it down F capital, so just remember, I'm going to make it small.
So the dollar name doesn't have to be same, right?
No, this is just, can be just name. It just doesn't have to be the same, right? As far as you know, right? Now here, will it give me an error? Let's see. I save this form, right? And I go back and refresh this page. What does it say? Undefined index, and it is on line number 6, which is, it is referring to post fname, right? Because the first time when I open this form, browser is reading this page, or the PHP engine, the server is reading this page. It's a PHP code, so it is supposed to execute it. Is that right? So first time it doesn't have any post fname because the form hasn't been clicked yet. It's just opening it first time. So first time I don't want this line to be read. I don't want computer to read it the very first time. Is that right? Yeah. So what I want, how do I stop computer reading from that is if if the post is there, then go in. If there is no post, don't go in. Does that make sense? Don't look. It's like open this letter and get this value. But check the post. Is post empty? Then there is no letter. I can't ask someone to read a letter if there is no post. Is that right? That's the concept. So when the first time this runs, it should not read this. Is that okay?
Can you echo the name? Like, dollar name, so that you can see, like, this name come out next to it.
I'll do it. I want to do it, but I don't want to do it here. So, is that okay? I will echo it, but I'll tell you where to echo it. Is that okay? Yeah? And now, if in this PHP, let's say this is post, right? But if I declare this variable here, can I declare this variable blank?
Yes.
Can I declare that variable blank? Yes. Now this variable will be created whether first time or second time. Is that right? because it's outside if. So this variable will get created first time when the page opens, right? I've also done one more thing. I've also created another variable which reflects an error if there is an error, right? But I've done that. I've already created these two variables. Whether the form has been submitted or not submitted, these variables exist, but they are empty. Is that right? They're empty. They don't have anything. So even if I echo it, nothing gets displayed. There's nothing to echo. Is that right? There's nothing to echo. Now in this case, what I want is, so let's save it. And you want me to echo it, I'll echo it so that you can see that this is the second time, right? But we will change this in a minute. Here, so go back here. There's no error, at least, because it's not been submitted. Is that right? Now in this, I just click save. Nothing will happen because there's nothing. But when I click here and I click save, you see that value there. So it's picking up the value. Is that right? Yeah. But could I have done it better way, that instead of echoing it here, can echo back in that cell?
Yes.
Because in HTML5 there is something which it says as placeholder. Is that right? Placeholder is what you want to initially put in that. Yeah. And we can also put value. Does that make sense? Not for this, I'm putting it at the wrong place. Here I can use placeholder to say enter your name. Is that right? And I can also use value. Is that right?
Placeholder is inside of the empty box.
Yes, input box, right? Can I say value? If I write down anything in value here, that is the something which is considered to be a default value. But I don't have to use that at the time being. Now here, we said if post $name is equal to fname, right? But what if fname was empty? Then the name will also be empty. And that's my validation. I don't want it to be empty. Is that right? Now, if it doesn't have to be empty, what should I need to check? If is that right? I'm checking. If this is empty, then the error should be no name provided. Is that right? Or it is blank, whatever you want to say. Do you understand? E-name, I'm going to set the value of name is empty. Is that right? And else, we will echo it in a minute. We will echo both of them. Echo, and this will be, if it's not empty, then obviously name should get what has been posted. Does that make sense? So either of them will work, isn't it? One of them is going to be an error and the other one is going to be empty. Is that right? Do you understand? If fname is empty, then error name gets name is empty and fname has got nothing. Otherwise, name has got whatever somebody has submitted, right? Now, if I have done that, I'm going to print. It could be anything. It just, I'm just displaying this. Does that make sense? Error. Let's say we'll change the positions where we want to print them. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. And this is just a whole part of else, so there has to be
Name space.
sorry.
Echo name space.
Or you want me to give a space?
Put the column.
Yeah. So now if I save this and I just do blank, this placeholder says enter your name. right? Obviously, some people have started emitting this label here, and that's how it's just the form's just the box, and inside you say what you want them to fill up. But now here, if I click without doing anything, if I say save, right? The reason for that is because my error message is also going to be displayed in else, right? Where should it be actually? I should close this here, and my echo should be just part of the post. Do you understand? My error else this is this, but this echo should be anyways working, isn't it? So here, so if I just refresh that again, save. Error name is empty. Can you see? Because it hasn't picked up that.
I'm confused. So, in the first if statement, the post was empty. So, how did it, like, it was false? How did
It didn't do it. It that is out of that if. Look, this all is post. So nothing is executing. The first time nothing is executing because everything is in post.
Yeah.
Yeah? Which is this. Which is actually this.
Yeah.
Nothing is happening, right?
But when you click
Now when I click on save, the post has been sent, but name is empty. Is that right? So if I do this, if I click save now here it says if this is empty, put ename as name error, and obviously this line will not execute because it's not there. So what do you just see is name blank, and error is displaying you the error. Can you see? There's no name, it's empty, but error is giving you a error, right? But if I now put the name in, oh, it doesn't make sense what I write, isn't it? It should give me the name and error should be blank. Does that make sense? Now, if I click on save, the name is D and error is blank. Is that right? Yeah? Now, some people, obviously we should do this valid. Yes, Seva?
So, which if runs when it's empty, the first if statement will run. Name is empty will run. And
This runs anyways, it runs always.
when you press save.
Yeah. It will run when you click on post.
Yeah.
And after that, this will run. But if there is nothing in fname, we want to display an error message.
Yeah.
There's nothing to store.
Maybe it would be easier if you put the echo name inside the else and the echo error inside the if.
Yeah, because then it's only displayed. But my worry is I want to show both of the things. The reason for that is because we are going to use them. I mean, I'm not going to use them. This I'm not going to use, right? I'm not going to ever display this like this. But you just need to understand the concept that one of them will exist. If you haven't filled anything in the box, then you have a variable error name which will have a value, and the other will have nothing because you didn't fill anything, right? And the other way, if you fill anything, then there is no error and the name actually gets the value. Is that right? Yeah? Now the idea is, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because I want this to be used here somewhere, right? Now where do you usually want the error message to be displayed? On the page or next to wherever. Does that make sense? You usually want the error message to come next to the box or in the box. It's up to you where do you want that box to, the value to be displayed. Is that correct? Now, if you want that to be displayed inside box, then probably I need to change this. Is that right?
That's the first name.
The placeholder. If you want the error message to come inside that box, then you will have to replace placeholder. If you want the error message to come next to the box, then let's write something here.
You want it with PHP?
Yeah, we will have to add it with PHP. So let's say if I span just to make it more. Yeah, here I just want this to stay here. Is that right? Now what am I going to write down here is, this is all HTML, isn't it? So I'm writing on PHP echo this. Is that okay? So obviously I don't want that here. The error should be displayed here. Is that right? Next to the box. Is that? Because where do you see, when you fill up a form, where do you usually want to see the error messages? Next to the box. If it's not filled in, you want that error message to be next to the box. You don't really usually like where they write down all the errors at the top. I'd hate that when they, all of the form they write, you have to just keep going up to say which one did I. Usually they will give you more indications, like I can put this or I can put some other. Now usually asterisk is the indication that's saying it's compulsory, or you will have to come up with whatever usability feature you want to.
You have a JavaScript to that as well.
This could all be done with the help of a JavaScript. We are saying if you haven't done it through JavaScript, then how do you do it in PHP? But the concept still remains the same. In JavaScript also, the variables will change, but the principle still is the same. Yeah?
PHP and then just have the alert that pops up as well.
There's no point. If you want to have it done through JavaScript, then just do everything with the JavaScript. Does that make sense? Obviously, people do double check. We do a double security. You do it through JavaScript and you do it through PHP. Does that make sense? We do both the things. The reason for doing it for PHP is that if there is a cyber attack, or if there is a SQL injection or something, that PHP should take care of that. Basically, that's the point of doing it in PHP as well. Because JavaScript is front end, but while it was going, if somebody injected any other code in that code, PHP is doing that validation again, so that means it will overrule anything. Is that okay? That's the whole point of doing it in PHP. So according to me, we do it in both the cases. But for a simple page, yes, one place is also all right. Right? Remember that when you get the templates from outside, the bootstrap templates and everything, and you want to do it through PHP, they would have not used the name field. None of them. They use ID. They have missed name. So let's see. Now this name, can I put it in value here? So when the form gets submitted, I want that name to be written down here in value. Instead of writing it at the top, I wanted to write it down at the right. So I could do that by putting here a PHP code echo. Is that okay? I've written down the PHP code where the value is. So I don't need to write it down here. Is that okay? So let's save and do this again. That's your first time. If I now press this, yeah, and if I write down Lewis is printing, but ideally I wouldn't want this here also, because if everything is going fine, why do I want to print it here? It should become empty. But we are just doing this concept so that if there is error, we'll do this. If there is no error, this is to just make sure that the values are printed on the page. If there is error in even one block, even if there could be more fields, right? And there could be error in any one of them. But if there is an error in any one of them, you should still have all the values with you. Is that right? Have you understood this? So we're going to make it, I'm going to add more fields to add more errors. Does that make sense? Now, there is another thing. I could have done a HTML5 thing by just writing down the word required here. I didn't have to do anything. If I just write down required next to my form, like the input type, it will not let me click, it will not send till you write anything in it. So the PHP will not even come in being that. Does that make sense? That because PHP only happens after send. But if I write down this, just show you this.
You just said you happen to store that somewhere else.
Sorry?
Just said you happen to store errors.
Nothing. It just works. But this is an HTML5 error. Does that make sense? HTML5, if you put required in an HTML5 form, it means that it will do that. It has that JavaScript. You don't even have to write down JavaScript for that. Do you understand? No JavaScript to be written down because it won't let you proceed. So HTML5 has got that JavaScript already inbuilt. Is that right? It's just embedded. Is that okay? So, but if I write down this, it's valid.
So we need to make it
Now you have to put.
We will talk about that. Yes. So now we are talking about validation, which is more. Does that make sense? There is the first validation for everything is that it can't be left empty or it can be left empty. That's the first validation. Does that make sense? Second validation is about the value. What is inside? And in what is inside, there are two aspects of it. What is the size and what is it? Because you might have, I want telephone number to be numbers, but what if somebody filled in 4 characters or 5 characters? You want them to be 10. Has to be written down 10. The number of characters have to be 10. Right? So that's a second step in validation. Do you understand? That's a second step in validation. The first validation is it shouldn't be blank, and then we do the rest. Now what we are saying is the whole validation can move to JavaScript. You just need to know the functions. What are you checking? It is good practice to check it at the JavaScript end. It's good, but you still need to know how to do it in PHP. That's something which people will expect you to know. Does that make sense? It's just like something very starting point. Is that correct? Yeah. So I'm just saying that this is done. So do you want me to add another?
Does it check a string?
I will check a string in a minute. I would check whether it's a string or a number or whatever, right? Let's add another input type. Is that okay? Is that okay? S name. And I put it at the wrong place. And let's say now again, if I'm adding more variables, keep it like this. Yeah. So if in that case I have taken name and I need another variable now, just s name. Is that right? So that's there. And I've taken another variable, which is es name.
Is that how you set variables, like comma between?
Empty variables, because you don't need declaration in PHP, isn't it? So that's how you set them. If you want them to be there, then you just set them empty, right? But there is another way of setting them. I could have done this as well, just to let you know. All of them are equal to this. This is equal to that is equal to that, and what is it equal to? Inverted empty. It's okay? So you're just declaring variables.
I don't get that.
Sorry?
You want to reset your
I'm not resetting anything.
value of variables to empty. That's how
I am not resetting, I'm setting. I'm not resetting, I'm setting. That's the first time to set.
the name and S name are
The variable which are going to be where I'm going to collect my first name and surname. In name I'm going to put my first name, and in my surname I'm going to put a surname.
two different variables.
Right? And obviously because there are two separate error messages as well.
Yeah.
Because if you want to have different error messages for each one of them, then you need different variable. You can't put them in one variable. Is that correct? Is that okay? Now, the only thing which is, if there is no error, do you understand? Now, at the moment, we've done this if for what? First name, right? We need to do the same thing for surname. Is that right? Is that okay?
Let's change that to yes.
Yeah. Now there are two variables, right? So if I have the form
It's the comma in the six, item 6.
yeah. Obviously, if I print this, because I've said required, it's not going to let me do it. No error. Now, you will not be able to have that PHP working in the first place because you can't go. Does that make sense? You can't go. You will never have that empty error message because I've put that required field in.
When you have those HTML errors, can you redesign them?
Yes.
You change the message on.
Is it required? No, we need to create an.
You can, but you need to have jQuery to be able to do it. You can, right? But it doesn't allow you a lot of change, like that the warning message. You can't. The slight outlook can be changed, but not much. Does that make sense? Because they are inbuilt, and that's where some don't use it because they don't go with their color scheme. So they don't want that error message to come up. Does that make sense? So at the moment, let me just take this required out. You've understood that if we could do it, then obviously you wouldn't require this code in PHP. Does that make sense? Because you're not going anywhere. If you don't click, the HTML5 form is not going to let you go anywhere. But we will talk about more validations in a minute, then it probably would come. But it's handy to do that because it's good to know to do it in JavaScript because then you're not asking your server, you're not putting that load on the server. Does that make sense? To validate, to check the small things. Does that, right? So here, if I just go back on this, and if I press this, you get both the error messages, right? Now, if I write down here, this is the reason why we've done both the variables, because let's say I filled in one and not the other one. So I want that name to stay. Is that okay? And I obviously want this error message to come. And now in either case, I can leave this one blank and I can put here, right? Now I press this. Obviously, this one is error message and that has the value, right? But in case both are okay, do I still want the values in? There's no error, everything is okay, I don't really want anything. Is that right? That's when your next step is, if you were gathering this information for sending an email, right, that's what you need to do. Is that right? And if it is even if it's going to go in a database, that's what you need to do when there is no error message, right? So how are you going to check whether there is an error or not error? How would you check that here? How can I check there was? Now you could check for errors, right? All the variables, whether they have error or not, right? But we don't usually do that. What we do is, we can have here a variable which says call it whatever. Does that make sense? I mean, just for yourself, that is there an error or not error, just to represent that, just keep a variable, right? So let's say if I just keep a variable error, nothing else, just error, and I'm saying error is 0, which is at the moment it is false. There's nothing in error, right? But if there is, if the name, if you're putting in this, I'll have to start putting curly brackets now. Here, I make it 1. If the name was empty, then you're putting that there is an error, right? And same case here, if there was an error, you make it 1. It doesn't matter which one. At the beginning of the page, it is 0, right? And if there was any error, it will become 1. And if there was no error, it will stay 0. Is that right? It will stay 0. If that, now what we could do is, after we've done this, we can do individual ifs. If we have 5 fields, we've done that. Here, we're going to just check.
You can use false and true instead of 0 to 1.
Here you can use true, false, just, right? If error equal to 1, what, or equal to 0, that's better. If error is equal to 0, now this will, here will be your database port or whatever is your next step. That is where it will be. Is that right? But when you do that, also make sure that you reset your variables. Does that make sense? You will have to reset your.
Sorry, because you mean that save it to the database?
Obviously, we're going to put that in the database, isn't it? But if there is no error, only then I will put them in the database. Otherwise, I wouldn't. So here, what we are saying is, if there is error, does that make sense? Reset your variables to blank. Is that right? You need to reset your variables to blank, so that form is empty, but the code, the PHP thing does the work, but the form comes up blank again to the user.
Is this inside the first statement?
Sorry, this will go here. I can say echo your form completed. Let me just give this message so that it just comes up.
If there is no error, reset it.
If there's no error, then reset it. Does that make sense? And give me the message saying it's everything is fine. Is that okay? So let's just do this one more time. Here, obviously you get both the error messages. I write down one. I'll still get the error message. I write down the second message. So both are blank, and you get your form message successful. Now it's up to us, what do we want to do? But you would want this message to come up on your screen, isn't it? But if you want this message to come up at a specific place, then do something like this. Create here a variable as in success message or whatever. Does that make sense? Create a variable message, just make it blank as you made it every other variable blank. When you are going to put the message, put this message in is okay. And if you want to display it wherever you want to display it, at the end of your form, wherever you want specifically on your page.
But you know, when you said empty variable, you need the empty string. You can just leave it like messages and.
If you use it, you have to put something. It will not put any value in it, and if you try to display it, it'll give you an error message. Does that make sense? So you don't want those error messages on the pages. So that's why. So it just do this. Not the first time there's nothing. So it needs to be blank. Does that make sense? That's why the first time the message is blank. When this page is coming up, nothing is displayed because there's nothing inside it, right? So here, if I go back, the same thing. you want it at a specific place. Does that make sense? So
Sometimes the form is very many fields in there.
yeah.
You don't want to go to 20 fields, then go submit. As it goes real time, it's validate. How
That is JavaScript. That is not PHP.
that's the JavaScript.
Yes, that's not PHP.
Sometimes it's for big forms.
It doesn't really matter. That's still JavaScript. Because in JavaScript you have two. You can check it on the submit button click, or you can check when the mouse leaves or the cursor leaves the box. So on blur basically, or on change, you have that event in JavaScript. You can do that. PHP does not has that. There's another thing which you can do it through. You can do it through Ajax, but not through PHP. You can do it through Ajax, but not PHP. PHP cannot do it. PHP can only function once the form is submitted. When the hit button is done, PHP can only validate it then. But yes, you have other means if you want to do it. That's only through JavaScript or Ajax. It's not through PHP.
Can that message go inside that last form tag? Suppose it's after.
No, it can be inside the form tag, but it's just the structure. Where are you going to put it? But you can put it wherever you like. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be outside the form tag. It can go inside here. It doesn't matter where you put it.
In so many templates that they give you free, it's all done. Just the form is not, and then they want you to pay, isn't it?
Yeah, most
You
of
know
the.
how to do the form. You can use so much more.
Yeah. So, it'll come up at the end. But wherever, it doesn't matter where you want to display it. There is another thing. Somebody would want. I don't want the form to come up. I want the whole form to disappear. Does that make sense?
Just the message left.
Just the message left. If the form has been clicked, I just want the message to be displayed. How are you going to do that? Make a new variable. Okay. And make a new page. No, I don't have to make a new page.
Just want activity.
Obviously you can take it to a new page, but the whole idea is when I say new page, then you've moved away, isn't it? That's fine. But you're saying if the message has been sent, you don't want that whole form to come out. So what would you do here? What do I need to change in this code to just not have the form?
So if there is, so if error is equal to 0, somehow to say not to display the form, you would do that.
Tell me and I'll put it there. If I just take this code above, yes, yeah, then if I have else here, can I do something?
If on variable is 0.
Yes, if there is no zero, there is no error, this is what you want to display, right?
Yeah.
So if I put here this, and I don't write this closing here, what will happen? If I write down PHP code here, what do you think will happen if I just do
The form will disappear because now it's, if we don't have
I've taken the whole
if we don't have error, it wouldn't go to the next page of else. It will just stay there, so it will display.
okay, if that is the case, what will happen the first time? There's no form here. You okay. What I've done is this is a HTML, isn't it? So what I'm doing is in this else statement I'm creating this form because my curly brackets start here.
Yeah. But you finish the PHP
At the end, because I want this curly else to finish and I want my if post to finish.
then run it with PHP and over there as well.
Sorry?
940, I think.
This one is because they have so many if like the HTML and the PHP embed, so that's going in between. That's why. But because I started this else here.
You know, on 41, on 941. So does that not end the PHP there?
No. It's not the whole PHP. Only this part of the PHP is finished. And for PHP code, it is looking at this else curly brackets, and this everything falls in this curly brackets. So it's not going to write any of the statements. Does that make sense? Because don't forget that when the server sees it, it looks at the all PHP, starting, finish, so whatever it makes sense. Right? But now what I've done is I've put that in else part, right? Is that okay? So, but then what happens is, because else part has it, that means if there is an error, it will come up. But if there is no error, it won't come up. But I want this to come up the first time as well. So what should I do? What should I do? How can I make it? If I don't make it in else, it's fine. So if I don't do else, let's say I've taken it out, is that okay?
If you put all these codes when in this before this if.
Okay, this was my if for my post, is that right? This was all part of my post, is that right? The form should appear if it's the post has been done, right? But whether post is done or not, my form should still come. Is that right? So do you think I can use another variable here? If I just, this is my post, which is correct, but I am outside my post now. Does that make sense? It's not there now. So if I write down here, if one, is that okay? But what was the error message here? What was the first error message state? 0. Can I change that error message state? No. I've changed the error message stage to -1, or let's say you change it to, the only thing is if I'm indicating it any other thing, if I'm indicating any other value, then I need to make sure that okay, let's keep it as -1, and as soon as I come inside, I change this value to 0. Is that right?
-1 means what?
Nothing. -1 means nothing. At the moment, -1 means nothing for me, right? But what I'm saying is, I need to allocate this as 0, isn't it? I want it to be 0, and if any checks are done, then I want that, if there is any error, I want it to be 1, right? But can I check here? Here I can do one thing. I can say here, where's the pipe saying? Yeah, there are 2, isn't it? So
This is all.
or. So what I've done is, I've said when error is 1 or -1. If error is 1 or -1, I want the form to display. But when error is 0, I don't want this form to display. So the first time my page opens up, error is -1. Is that right? That means the form has not been even submitted. When the form is submitted, it will change into 0 or 1. So if it is 0, I don't want that message, the form to appear, and if it's 1, I want the form to appear.
What is the use of having that closed bracket in it?
This is because I've started this if. This is working inside that if.
What's the importance of having it in its own PHP?
I can't, how will I write it down here? I can't write it down. I have to write down this somewhere, isn't it? Where should I write down this? This is my PHP. Look, I was writing down the whole PHP code and I started writing down HTML, right? So, but I want this to be inclusive part of that PHP. So I need to write down that closing somewhere. I can't write it down here because then I can't close form tag. It won't be fine. So I have to make it a part. I can't write it down there. If the message was outside, then I could have put this curly bracket with that. Does that make sense? I could combine it. Yeah. Here, if I just do this now. Now when I open it first time, the form should come up. Right? If I have the error, the form is still there with whatever messages.
And you have one, but one is not.
Yeah, because it's one, so it's
No,
still,
we have one.
we still have one. So that's why form is appearing and the error messages are there. Now as soon as I put both the values in, it's 0. So the form shouldn't now be there, isn't it? So save. It doesn't go. What happened? What is the value of? It should have not been.
The single equal is the correct.
Sorry.
It's or error equal, not equal.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. Because it's just allocating. So we need to test it again. Both is fine. Fine. Should be fine. Yeah. But because now the message needs to be outside your form. We moved it inside, but it should be outside, right? Do you understand why? Because it's gone as a part of the form. So I should move that message outside at the, yeah, I don't need this because it's together. Yeah. So don't display the form, display me the message saying the form has been done. Yeah.
So you can start the message in CSS.
Yeah, you can have a div. The whole form was in a div. In that div, you want that message to be centrally placed. That's all CSS.
Would it be good to have that contact inside the form so that disappears as well?
Yeah, I just moved it outside. You can just leave it where your form is. Yeah. This, you're talking about this contact us, isn't it? Yeah, if you've written that down. I'm expecting that there is more code at the top, not just the form. Does that make sense? That contact us didn't refer to the form. I was referring it to the rest of the body content, the page, your HTML page content. Does that make sense? Yeah, just to make you sure that you could display that here. It doesn't. But what I'm expecting is that you would have more HTML page. You know, sometimes you don't have your like H1 or whatever. That content needs to stay where it is. Does that make sense? Or a header and everything, rest the code in the page would stay, isn't it? Does that make sense? So, but then this one, now the contact is gone. If I display that, that comes as a part of the form. So the whole div, basically. You're going to look at the whole div, where you want that map or form to be appearing. Is that okay? Can we look at this code? Because before I make it more bigger or we add more validations, have you understood it? I can print out the code if you want to type the code. Should I give you a printed code, right? I mean, you have a big code already, but I just want. It's fine. It's just a lot of PHP there.
No, it could bit by bit because it's easier.
So I'm going to give you the code, this code as a printout, and I'm going to put it on Edmodo as well. But the whole idea is that That's why I didn't want you to add more fields. We will add a bit more validation. You know, like, so we at the moment we just checked one thing, that it's blank, but now we will add more things in a minute, right? So yeah. So let me just give you the printout for this. So I'm gonna try printing it in color.
This is easier than Friday.
Welcome to page. Print. Sorry?
What did you name the index?
I didn't name the in this page. I named it as enquiry.php. I mean, this is the code which what we've done. So I'm just sending, uploading the page. Printed it. I'm just going to go and collect it, and that's the file. You can take this. Whose is this? Okay, I'll give you one. I didn't give you one last time. I have 1 minute. I'll give you one.